So to continue that conversation, I love it because the school you're giving the kids a logistical outlet to be able to do and expose them to human rights issues around the world and have them kind of sort of develop how they can be a part of the solution through that experiential learning opportunity. Where do you start? Where's the starting point for you when you're developing a program? Do you start with a human rights issue and then identify a place in the world where you can specifically expose students more? Do you start with education in the classroom and then gear them towards that way? I mean, guide our listeners through that process so they can be better at it too.
So that's a great question, and I think there's different approaches, different methodologies to doing this, quote unquote, right. I think right differs from context to context, but the way we do it is it starts with our teachers. They have, and it starts with our teachers and curricular content at Avenues as defined by our approach to pedagogy, which is the Avenues World Elements, a series of learning outcomes that we want all Avenues students to be equipped with by the time they graduate from this institution. So it's informed by that and the passion of the teachers and the relationship that the teachers have with the students, which is going to drive enrollment. So we call for proposals from faculty and staff and students, because the students are a big driver of, what the content of these programs will eventually end up being.
Which is so smart. We did a session with a school down in North Carolina 5-6 months ago about engaging students in that trip planning process. And
absolutely.
Having an open door policy and letting them communicate their interests and passions is a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think this is something that we're trying to let students know more and more, that please be a part of this, propose some programs, and we'll see if we can make it happen. And we've gotten some really good proposals from students. So that's the starting point, and they come up with these ideas. What we say in our proposal documents is the kind of benchmarks that we expect teachers, staff, and students to hit. So is your program linked to the Avenues World Elements and what the students are doing from a curricular perspective in school, in their classes? Is it going to build or have opportunities for building cross-cultural competence? Is there a global thematic issue tied to your proposal? And very importantly for me, and the thing that I've been trying to drill in ever since I started here, are there opportunities for authentic, sustainable, thoughtful community engagement and social impact work around that global thematic issue, both in country and when you come back? All these issues that you're exploring are quintessentially global issues. You can think of a way that these issues manifest back home and continue to take action for social impact when you get back to your home community. So as long as those benchmarks are hit, that's kind of our methodology.
And the last one is one that I think your peers and our listeners are always trying to grapple around, right? It's not about going somewhere, doing something in a one-way type of context, taking a picture and saying you did it.
Yeah.
What is the ongoing sustainable maintenance plan for this, and how are you really going to achieve, ultimately, the outcome that you want to achieve?
Another great question, and I think it's a work in progress, and it's defined by the setup of the programs. So if you are going into a community abroad with this, what I like to call fair trade learning mentality, you're not going to take anything from anybody. You're going to humble yourself, learn, engage. If you can contribute to work that's happening, by all means do so, and then reflect on how you can continue the work when you come back. And to do that, sometimes it's built into, if we have, the mid-year programs, the spring break, the mini-master, the fifth term that's happening right now, the impact work is built into kind of what you can continue doing from a curricular perspective back in your classes. So a program to Guilin a couple of years ago that focused on, it was a language program, so they had homestays, continued language acquisition and mastery, but we had to go a step beyond that. I told the teachers, this is great, but what else? and found out that the young people were doing throughout the middle grades water sustainability projects
In China?
in New York.
In New York.
So as they were developing the program, I said, why don't we see if this is an issue in Guilin? And of course it is. There's the Longshan rice fields, which are gorgeous.
I love Guilin, Yangshuo, all of it. Yeah, no, you're speaking to the choir, yeah. Dragon's backbone.
Yeah. So, rice is a water-intensive crop. Let's talk
Most of the world relies on rice.
There we go. There's some issues here that we can unpack that are related to these water projects that the students are already doing. The Lee River is the lifeblood of that area. How do communities interact with that river? So the program turned into a program about water and water sustainability. And then when they came back, those students carried on their water projects in classes, but also served as peer educators and went into 5th grade classes and served as teachers to the 5th grade, telling them about the sustainability around water work that they had done in Guilin and informing what projects that the 5th grade were working on. So that's kind of the quintessential example. But I think when I say it's a work in progress, that part about what you do when you come back and the impact work, still it's in continual development. And I'm thinking about creating curricular templates for how to facilitate that for groups when they return from these experiences abroad.
Yeah, because no matter how much prep you do with students, in the minds of even teachers, in the minds of them, intrinsically there is the fact that they're going on a trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But really the teachers are still working and the students are still learning, and it's supposed to be an educational, curricularly aligned experience.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in that.
And it's a I think struggle is too strong a word, but it's just the messaging around these programs. We always say program as opposed to trip. And sometimes it's semantics and people laugh at us when we do that, but we're like, no, seriously, this is not a trip, it's a program. And we always tell students and parents, this program is linked to your academic life at Avenues. It's not, Global Journeys sponsored vacation. And it's just continually, drilling home that message.
This is something I think could really help a lot of our listeners. When do you start and how do you set those expectations?
I think, so we're right now, even as we're closing out the program year with current programs, we've completed a proposal process for 2020 programs, and we have that slate selected. So in the next few months, we're going to engage partners that can help us implement those programs, and start over the summer creating marketing materials so that as soon as, and we'll even send out an email to parents sometime next month, just saying these are the programs to expect for next year, because a lot of our parent body, they're planning, their spring break now. Their 2020 spring
Especially
break.
when you get with more and more affluence, it's planned out for a long time.
Right. So we do that so we can be prepared from when families get back in the fall, start delivering those messages. These are the programs. This is what we're trying to achieve. These are the issues. This is how this program will help your child exercise their global citizenship, and keep drilling home that message of engagement and impact.
And it's great that you do that, because we in the industry it's easy to tiptoe around the educational impact of it when you're enrolling. And it's easier to have those hard conversations post-registration because they're already locked in at that point. Having the tough conversations and communicating the important messaging before you sign up, before you apply, before you commit is important. You could risk maybe not filling as much as you want to, but you get students who really want to be there.
Absolutely. And that's why we think it's important to keep driving this message home. This is like a global citizenship engagement and impact program. This is why you came to this school, for your children to get the opportunity to exercise their global citizenship. this is how they'll do it via these programs. So there's no confusion when you're getting to enrollment time. Yeah.
This is it. This is it. Well, where do you feel like your program is headed? I mean, what's the 5-year plan?
So right now, I think with the opening of Avenue São Paulo, it's opened up a lot of really interesting opportunities for us. We've just run, for the first time in our history, international programs that featured students from both our campuses, and largely it went exceedingly well. So with that new campus open, the growth of our campus in Sao Paulo and a couple of new campuses opening up, in the next couple of years, I think the growth model for Global Journeys is really exciting right now. And now we can continue to create these opportunities, not only for students to engage the world and figure out how to contribute to addressing these kind of existential global crises, but also how to figure out building cross-cultural competence, not only in a destination, but with your peers while you're on this discovery program, while you're on this engagement and impact program. You are building competence, with each other and learning about each other and learning contextually how this issue you're exploring in a third destination impacts you in New York or you in Brazil in a varied way. But it's all about how we can work together to address these issues, because these are all global issues. And I think there's an opportunity there that's really exciting and interesting, and figuring out how to best create programs in the context of a world school is something that's really exciting for me.
Right, and it seems like the sky's the limit.
It does. It does. So, it's going to be an exciting few years, from technology-based programs to climate change and sustainability. A lot of our students fired up about addressing that.
Right.
We end up having several programs linked to that, to being critical around how we can address this while, contributing to it by flying everywhere.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I still feel conflicted about that, especially going on sustainability programs.
Yeah. It's something that we've discussed, and we're aware of. It came up in GEBG, and we had a really good discussion around that. So we're implementing things like carbon offsets for our sustainability and climate change-oriented programs. Just even in the design of the programs, there's learning. And there's an opportunity to work with students around. So this is the issue that you've selected, that you're focused on. How can we address this issue even in the planning of the program? So it's definitely pre, during, and post. And that's another message that we drill home. It's not about those 2 weeks that you're in country. That's not the program.
This is the appetizer.
Yeah. The program is that and everything else.
This is where it starts. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for having the conversation today. This is really, really good stuff. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the Trip Leader podcast series. If you have any questions about Kevin's session, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer some of those for you. You can just reach out to us at info@ourhumanfamily.com. And if you have any questions about running global experiences, human rights issues and whatnot, just reach out to us. And thank you so much for listening, and hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.